Back in February, I wrote to my congressman in my district and two senators in Nevada about my proposals to improve our retirement system. 3 months later, I finally got a reply from one of the senators. So I want to share what she said, but I still haven't got any replies from the congressman or the senator. But before I get into that, I'm going to show you the letter I wrote to them, and I'd love to hear your thoughts on my proposals to improve the retirement investment vehicles, like what we currently have with the Roth IRA, 401k, 403b, etc. And I already made videos about the universal savings account that Congress is looking to create so that they can replace the health savings account or the HSA, which I strongly oppose. And this issue didn't make it to my letter because I wrote it back in February, and the proposal came to light around March. And spoiler alert, I wasn't very happy with the reply that I got, but I'm going to share what I proposed with you anyway, because this channel is about FIRE, or financial independence, and retire early. So this is what I wrote to the senators and the congressmen, and it's all the same template. So I'm just going to share this with you. So the first one was Senator Cortez Masto. I said, I met you in 2018 during my Air Force Awards ceremony as an Air Force Reserve member. And that was when I was on active duty in the Air Force. And since then, I have separated from active duty and worked as a financial consultant and coach in Las Vegas. I have helped veterans in Nevada and across the country. And I know you're extremely busy, so I'll get to the point. I'm taking the next hour to write to you because I think I found several key issues that need to be addressed, including the retirement crisis in America. And I know that you're currently serving on the finance committee, so I thought you'd be the best person to reach out to regarding the American retirement system. You can call this the Secure Act 3.0, which is more improved than the previous two Secure Acts. And so I met her back in 2018 during one of my award ceremony, which was cool. And I didn't really get to talk to her, but I wanted to use that as my stance on helping the veterans. That's my primary community, but as a financial independence and retire early investor, I am helping out not just the veterans, but people who are looking to achieve financial independence and potentially retire early. So issue number one that I addressed right away was simplified 401k rollovers. So now that we have a 401k database system, which was enacted from Secure Act 2.0, a centralized 401k system is needed to simplify rollovers. When a worker leaves his or her job, the 401k is left alone with the previous employer. I recommend that the 401k broker be mandated to notify the worker to move the 401k within 180 days to a current 401k type plan like 403b, 457, or TSP, or an IRA of the worker's choosing. So from my experience working with so many clients, hundreds, if not exceeding 1,000 clients now, the most common problem that I'm seeing with my clients and even my own 401k in the past is that they just get left alone with the broker, right? So I'll use me as an example. When I worked in the private sector, I had a Vanguard 401k with that private sector job, and it just kind of got left alone. But knowing what to do, I just had it roll over to my Roth IRA and the solo 401k right away. But when I talked to Vanguard, and I said, do you ever notify your clients who's with Vanguard that they're no longer employed with that job, that they can do the rollover so that they can maintain that rule of 55 with a new job if they have it, or put it in the Roth IRA? They don't. So Vanguard told me that they don't notify their clients to do it. The purpose of this issue was to address that, hey, there are a lot of lost and found 401ks in that database, and that's why they created that from Secure Act 2.0. And I believe that the brokers need to do more. There needs to be like some kind of a centralized system where there's someone who's overseeing the 401k investment vehicles, because there's so many, right? It's decentralized right now. You have Vanguard, Fidelity, Schwab are the biggest brokers out there, but you could be working in a different state with an employer who chooses to pick a broker that is much cheaper than maybe Fidelity, Schwab, or Vanguard, right? So when people leave their jobs, they just kind of like forget about the 401k, which is, it's also on the workers to keep track of their 401k. But when life happens, they just kind of forget about it. It gets left alone. And then they have sometimes hundreds of thousands of dollars just left alone in the 401k. So I would like to have a centralized 401k database system so that people don't lose them. They can keep track of the dollars and move it over to the current 401k or 403b, 457 or TSP, and move it over to the Roth IRA if they have a Roth 401k with the previous employer. But that was the purpose of this issue. And issue number two, this is a huge one. The rule of 55 is not available to every employer. So the rule of 55 allows employees to take penalty-free distributions from their 401k type plan if the employer and broker allow it. So Secure Act 3.0, or whatever they want to call it, should mandate every broker and employer to allow employees to have an option to take penalty-free distributions from their 401k type plan if they meet the current requirements. So it's kind of wild, right? So TSP, which is the federal government version of the 401k, allows their federal employees or the military members, when they separate or retire after the age of 55, as long as they turn 55 in that year. Let's say you turn 55 in 2025, but not until December, you can retire in 2025 and you're still gonna fall under the rule of 55. Just from the traditional TSP or traditional 401k, you can take penalty-free distributions if you retire in that year that you turn 55 years old. And that's called the rule of 55 that not many people know about. And the reason is not every broker has it enabled for those employees, and employers don't know anything about it. And they actually just kind of like say, all right, we're going to open up the 401k plan, and they just forget to check the box to allow their employees to have that rule of 55 possibility. So the downside of the rule of 55 is that you have to quit your job, right? So you have to retire or quit the job and no longer be participating in that 401k. You cannot roll over out of that 401k either, because that rule of 55 has to stay with that 401k. So my issue is that not every employer or broker has that availability, because again, it's decentralized. So every broker has its own rules and an employer just kind of forgets to sign off on it. I doubt that many employers even care about the rule of 55. My 401k has that rule of 55 available for my employees. So this is a really huge one, and that the American people in general just need to understand that the rule of 55 is out there, but it really depends on who your broker is and who your employer is. If you don't know, reach out to your broker right away. If your broker doesn't know, then you need to reach out to your HR and see if that rule of 55 is available for you. But again, my proposal is to make it available for every broker and every employer. All right, and then the issue number three is raise the IRA contribution limits to match the 401k. So the IRA and Roth IRA contribution limits right now are currently capped at $7,000 and $8,000 if you're over the age of 50. And many small businesses in the US cannot afford to administer a 401k plan for their employees, which prevents employees from putting any money into their retirement account. So the IRA contribution limit should match the 401k type plan to $23,500 with a catch-up limit of $7,500 and $11,250 if you're between the ages of 60 and 63. So the reason why I brought this up is I know the 401k plan is required if you have certain number of employees in your company, right? I don't have that threshold yet. I have a 401k plan for my employees anyway. The problem is when you're capped at IRA at 7,000 or 8,000, you're taking away the opportunity for American people to contribute more, especially when you have an account like a traditional IRA and Roth IRA, that the Roth IRA can grow tax-free so that people would naturally want to put their money into a tax-free account. So limiting the opportunity down to $7,000 or $8,000 with a Roth IRA is not going to be enough for someone who doesn't have access to the 401k. And right now, not every single American has access to the 401k, TSP, 403b, or 457, because it really depends on the employer. So until that happens, which I don't think it will, because 401k plan is expensive, but IRA can be done individually, and there's no really management fees that get charged to it. So I'm proposing to raise that contribution limit from $7,000 to $23,500 based on the 2025 numbers, and raise that $1,000 catch-up limit from the IRA up to $7,500, and just match what the 401k has to offer, and $11,250 between the ages of 60 and 63. 63. And speaking of management fees, issue number 4 was to cap the 401k management fees to 2%. So I wrote some brokers charge as high as 2% in management fees just for owning a 401k, which eats into taxpayers' profit. So the management fees should be capped at 0.5% at the most. That's just my proposal. If taxpayers seek financial advice service, then increase the rate to 1% at the maximum. Let's say you have any 401k broker. I'm going to use Vanguard as an example. Okay. I don't have a Vanguard 401k anymore. Their management fee, let's say they charge you 0.75% to own that 401k. Let's say you have a return of 10% from your investments, but that 0.75% gets taken out of your profit, right? For having that 401k. And then if you seek financial advice from, let's say, Vanguard, and they give you that financial advice, they're going to charge you an additional fee. I don't know what that fee is, but it is a lot more. So I don't think a lot of people realize how expensive a 401k can be. And, you can argue that some brokers can be greedy and some brokers just charge too much. And, it makes people kind of want to not invest because you're like, well, why should I invest in a 401k when they take away 1.5% or maybe even up to 2% of my profit, right? So this is my proposal to cap the limit to 0.5% at the most for the management fee, and then increase the rate to 1% at the most if they get those financial services, advisor services. So I'd love to hear your thoughts on that too. And issue number 5 is to make 401k after tax contributions available to all Americans. So before I tell you what that means, I'm going to just tell you what I wrote. In 2025, only 30% of 401k brokers and employers allow their employees to make contributions beyond their regular contributions, known as after-tax contributions or mega backdoor Roth. This reflects a lack of financial knowledge among employers regarding this feature. And the total contribution limit for 401k plan is $70,000 in 2025, combining both employee and employer contributions. Streamlining contributions would enable workers to defer their salaries up to $70,000, including their employer's match or profit sharing contributions. So if you didn't know this, the 2025 401k contribution limit is actually $70,000, not including the catch-up contribution for the age of 50 and above at $7,500. Or if you're between the ages of 60 and 63, that's an additional $12,500 on top of the $70,000. So normally you hear that your employee contribution limit is $23,500, but the other $46,500 is the employer contribution side, right? But some 401k allows you to do what's called an after-tax contribution, which means that you put your total $70,000 and then your $23,500 for the contribution limit as an employee. And then let's say your employer gives you $20,000 a year very generously, $20,000 on top of the $23,500 that you contribute. So that's a total of $43,500, right? So you have a remaining of $26,500 left from the $70,000 total. Some employers and some brokers, like my previous private sector job, allow me to do the after-tax 401k contribution. So I just completely maxed out my 401k every year. And so let's say you get to contribute $25,000 in the after-tax contribution. That's in addition to the Roth 401k. So there's the traditional 401k, Roth 401k, and then there's the after-tax 401k. So when you log into your 401k, find out if that after-tax 401k is available to you. If it is, that means you have that mega backdoor Roth 401k availability that's available to you. And there are several strategies to this. I'm not going to get into it in this video because I already have videos on the mega backdoor Roth 401k, but you can check it out on my channel when you get a chance. But not every employer allows this. Not every broker has this availability. I had a client who had like 2 jobs and with the same 401k broker. And one of them had the mega backdoor Roth or the after-tax contribution available, but the other job did not because the employer didn't enable that feature for their employees. Does it hurt the employers if they enable this feature? Absolutely not, because you're contributing to it. It's not the employer match. So you have that after-tax contribution available to you. It's incredible how much you can contribute to it if you have this feature. So this is something that I addressed and proposed and say, we need to have this available for every American. even if you can't afford to put all 70,000 in there, I think that option should be available, because why should it be limited if it doesn't hurt the employer and it could potentially raise the tax revenue, which is not really an ideal strategy by keeping an after-tax contribution into the 401k, which you can check out on the other video that I talked about. But it doesn't hurt anybody else by having this feature available. So if someone in their 50s who wants to just catch up on their 401k because they're behind, enable this feature. Make it available for everyone. And issue number 6 is to eliminate the Roth IRA income limits. So the Roth IRA income limits exist initially per Congress to prevent ultra wealthy people from sheltering their money in a tax-free account. However, the backdoor Roth conversion has been the loophole to contribute to the Roth IRA regardless of our income. So eliminating the Roth IRA income limits can allow more households to invest in the Roth IRAs to secure their tax-free retirement. So it benefits the American middle class more than the US's top 1% income earners. So there's a very clear distinction between Roth IRA contributions and Roth IRA conversions. So if you make too much money, right, then you cannot directly contribute to the Roth IRA. You can do what's called a backdoor Roth IRA conversion with the traditional IRA going into the Roth IRA. You can check out the video that I did. It's also on my channel about the backdoor Roth IRA conversion for 2025. Or you can schedule a consultation with me by visiting firesearcher.com/consultation if you want to understand better about your Roth IRA conversions. But anyway, initially their argument was, let's cap that income so that ultra wealthy people don't shelter their tax-free account, right? So, but with the Roth conversion, it means that you can still put money into the traditional IRA and then convert it to the Roth IRA. You still don't pay any taxes on it, assuming that you don't have a balance in your traditional IRA that triggers the pro rata rule. And then 5 years later, after you turn 59 and a half, you can still take that money out. I would like to have the Roth IRA contribution to be available for all Americans. There's no reason for anybody to have a limited access to the Roth IRA contribution, because you can take that money out tax-free and penalty-free at any time. And that contribution, it could be a huge early retirement strategy, because your Roth IRA could grow to, let's say, $2 million, right? But let's say $500,000 of that is your Roth IRA contributions. You can take that money out at any time, tax-free, penalty-free, and it doesn't matter what your age is. It's the Roth IRA earnings for the remaining, let's say, 1.5 million is what you cannot touch until 59 and a half, which I understand that. I understand that rule. But the Roth IRA contributions is really huge when it comes to early retirement strategy, because if you're looking to retire at 50 or 55 because you're a FIRE investor, you can use that Roth IRA contributions as a early retirement strategy by start taking distributions out just to contributions. Because Roth IRA, how it works is that when you take money out of that, they're always going to take the contributions out first. And number 2 is going to be the rollovers or the conversions. And then the number 3 at the very last is going to be the earnings. So the Roth IRA is already set up that way. But when the income limit is already capped at, I believe it's like 150,000 this year, and then 240,000 for married couples, it just takes away that ability to just do the Roth IRA direct contribution from your checking account to the Roth IRA. And I would like that eliminated from the Roth IRA income limits. I don't believe this is going to shelter ultra wealthy people or prevent them from sheltering their money in a tax-free account. It's $7,000, right? And the previous proposal was to increase it to $23,500. Are they really going to care? No, not really. Okay. So this is going to benefit the middle class more. And I would love to hear your thoughts in the comment section below. And issue number 7 is to eliminate the Roth IRA 5-year rule. And this is probably the dumbest rule that the Roth IRA has. And it's completely pointless. So currently taxpayers under the age of 59 and a half must wait 5 years when they convert pre-tax dollars from a 401k or IRA to a Roth IRA, or they face a 10% penalty. So the other thing that I didn't get to mention is the contribution rule, which is 5 years. So you have to have your Roth IRA open for at least 5 years after you initially contribute to it in order for you to take out your Roth IRA penalty-free and tax-free. And since they pay federal and state income taxes in the same tax year they make the conversion, they should not have to wait another 5 years to touch the money they already pay taxes on. 100%. This is common sense, right? So if I convert $10,000 this year in 2025 to my Roth IRA, okay, and I pay taxes on it. Let's say I'm in a marginal tax rate of 24%. So I pay $2,400 in taxes, just an example. Then I pay that taxes in the following year, but I still have to wait 5 years to have access to that money. And I'm still going to be penalized 10% if I touch that converted money, if I take distributions from that conversion before I turn 59 and a half. So why does it matter to Congress or anybody that I take that money out before 59 and a half? I think that should be available as soon as I pay taxes on it. Let the conversion grow, right? So I understand the earnings portion. So that $10,000 gets converted, the earnings that accrue from that $10,000 conversion, I'll have to wait until 59 and a half. I understand that completely. But that $10,000 should be available to me right away. Treat it like a contribution because I already paid taxes on it. Why should I pay a penalty for not meeting the 59 and a half requirement? Again, conversion versus earnings. Earnings, 59 and a half. Now, when it comes to conversion, I pay taxes on it. I should be able to take that money out whenever I want. And issue number 8 was to make health savings account or HSA available to all Americans. So HSA is only available to individuals enrolled in a high deductible health plan or HDHP. So I brought up HR 5787, which allows veterans with service-connected disability and veterans benefits to contribute to a health savings account. So in my private client program, which you can also check out at firesightshare.com/private clients, I work with many veterans with VA disability who are not eligible for the HSA. Unfortunately, the bill doesn't amend HSA eligibility if you have TRICARE. Please also see HR 5687, which allows taxpayers with Medicare Part A to contribute to the HSA. And currently, once taxpayers are enrolled in Medicare, they cannot contribute to the HSA, but they can use HSA funds to pay for Medicare Part B. And the bill also covers eligibility for Indian Health Service assistance and states that individuals will not be disqualified from health savings accounts or HSAs. Currently, those enrolled in a medical care program under a tribal organization cannot have an HSA. Furthermore, the bill categorizes bronze and catastrophic plans as high deductible health plans, which are directly associated with HSAs. If you're unfamiliar, the bronze, silver, gold, and platinum plans represent different categories based on how you and your healthcare plan share costs. More information is available at healthcare.gov, and I wrote that to the senators and the congressmen in case they need to, look it up themselves, which I doubt that they do. Maybe they do. I don't know. But HSA is something that I'm really passionate about because I know how expensive healthcare can be in the United States. People need to start investing in the HSA because we need to beat inflation. We need to beat how much healthcare costs, right? People have been arguing over the last 20, 25 years about healthcare costs, how much they need to bring down. Even during the Obama administration with the Obamacare, the healthcare costs did not come down at all. This was back in 2011, 2012. So, I don't know how much Congress can do to bring the cost down. I'm just being realistic. It will be a hopeful dream, but the other way to do it is to put money away into the health savings account so that by the time you're 65 and you're enrolled in Medicare, then you can use that HSA to pay for your medical expenses. Average retirement couples retiring after 65, they spend about $300,000 in medical expenses. And that's throughout their retirement timeline, not in 1 year, but that's something that I'm very concerned for in the future is that people won't have enough healthcare expenses set aside by the time they're in their 60s or 70s, right? And which leads to issue number 9 is to raise the HSA contribution limit. So rising medical costs will continue to hinder American retirees. So I talked about that. On average, taxpayers could pay up to $300,000 on medical expenses throughout their retirement, which I just talked about. And in 2025, HSA contributions are capped at $4,300 for individuals and $8,550 for family, with a catch-up contribution of $1,000 for individuals over the age of 55. Not 50, it's 55 for HSA. Instead, I propose increasing the contribution amount to match the deductible and out-of-pocket limitation. So the maximum out-of-pocket cost for individuals in 2025 is $8,300, and for family coverage, it is $16,600. So my proposal is to increase that contribution to get to $8,300 for individuals instead of $4,300 that's already in place, and make it $16,600 or maybe even higher for the family plan. Okay. So that's something that I have looked at, is just by calculating the compound interest for the HSA. It needs to raise even more. It needs to go higher, because that individual 4,300 may not be enough if you're just starting the HSA in your mid 30s. You need to cover your healthcare expenses into the future, unless they have some kind of universal healthcare system in the future. Who knows what's going to happen, right? If that happens, then this is going to be irrelevant. But, as of right now, I don't hear any of that happening. I don't hear any universal healthcare system happening anytime soon. So we need to expand that HSA by raising the contribution limits and keep it pre-tax contribution for the federal anyway. And if you're in New Jersey or California, you're not going to have that pre-tax for the state income tax anyway, but you'll still get that pre-tax benefits for the federal. And the last issue was to allow HSA to pay for long-term care. So make long-term care services a qualified HSA distribution. If they become a qualified expense under the HSA, taxpayers could save significantly on taxes by using the HSA to cover long-term care costs. Please continue to fight for America. If you have any questions, please don't hesitate to reach out. So long-term care, I'm really hoping that this does become available for HSA, because I know, like, by the time I'm in my 60s, 70s, I'm probably going to need some kind of long-term care, right? Being in the military for 20 years, and my body is just kind of deteriorated now, and I'm not even 40 yet, but I'm really hoping that long-term care is going to be available. I would hate to rely on anybody in my family to take care of me, so I would rather be in the long-term care facility. But that's just me, right? But I want the HSA distribution, or the qualified medical expense, to be available for the HSA, and that's what I talked about. Here's the reply that I got from Senator Cortez Masto. So if you look at it, just from the one-page letter, I was really disappointed in reading this, because the fonts do not even match. So you can see that somebody, maybe her staff, inserted the template in the letter. But I'm just going to read to you what she said. It says, "Thank you for writing to share your support for retirement security. I appreciate hearing from you. It took you 3 months to reply to me, but other guys, they haven't replied to me anyway. Like you, I believe Americans should be able to retire with dignity. Today, the average American spends nearly 20 years in retirement. Those who have worked hard and played by the rules should be able to afford a secure retirement. This is why I supported legislation like that's the Secure Act 2.0, signed into law by President Biden. This legislation provides small businesses the support they need to help start retirement accounts for their employees, and increases catch-up contribution for 401k, 403b, governmental plans, and IRA account holders, helping these starting their savings later in life grow their retirement accounts." I'm very fully aware of Secure Act 2.0, which I wrote in the original letter. You may be interested to know I was a co-sponsor of the Social Security Fairness Act. Okay, so that's old news. That's from way back then, introduced by Senator Brown from Ohio, and I was proud to support this bill. And when it passed the House and Senate and was signed into law by President Biden, the Social Security Fairness Act repeals the government pension offset, GPO, which reduces public employees' Social Security spousal or survivor benefits to a third of their pension. It also repeals the windfall elimination provision, allowing employees receiving a government pension to collect their full Social Security benefits. I supported this bill because I believe the workers who teach our children and keep our communities safe should have access to their full Social Security benefits. Today, over 50,000 Nevadans are impacted by the windfall elimination provision and the government pension offset. By repealing these unfair provisions, public service employees like police, firefighters, and teachers will finally be able to collect the full benefits of the Social Security program they have spent years or decades contributing to. I never even once mentioned about the Social Security program in my letter at all. None at all. And this is a canned paragraph for sure, because this font is different from something else. So I'm sure that this was pre-written by someone else. I'm fully aware of the Social Security Fairness Act, but that was not my issue at all. And I stuck to, I just talked about the retirement investment vehicle because she's in the finance committee, but none of what I talked about was addressed in this letter. And it says, "Your views matter to me and it helped me become a better voice of our state. Please rest assured I will continue, blah, blah, blah." Okay, so signed by Senator Cortez Masto. So clearly I'm disappointed in her reply that didn't even address anything I said in the original letter. To give her some credit, she did reply, and I still haven't received any replies from the congressman in my district and the other senator. And I'm sure they get thousands of emails or letters every day, but I wish she had just done a better job of responding to my proposal. I will continue to push for this, not only because I'm passionate about the FIRE movement, but it could also largely benefit the entire American population. And I understand that not everyone is going to be able to retire at age 50, 55, 60, 62, or 65. Your personal finances are personal for a reason, but I think some of these rules are very outdated. And Congress just needs to implement some new rules so that everyone has access to the rule of 55 with the 401ks, make the 401k rollovers easier and simpler, and raise the IRA contribution limits to match the 401k. So I'd like to hear your thoughts on my proposal and what changes would you like to see with your retirement investment vehicles. And this has been another beast of a video, and I hope you got a lot out of it.